Hi everybody, Nancy Bovair here with Agape and NEXsteps. Today I wanted to talk about the concept of aging. Once upon a time we used to think that anybody over the age of 60 was old, elderly. Well, things have changed. We are living longer, we're living healthier, we are more active. We have had amazing advances in health interventions, in medical interventions. We have surgeries now that have taken people who maybe would have been mobility compromised at one point due to blown knees or ankles or hips that are now routinely having those joints replaced and are able to continue to go on and live very, very active lives, very healthy lives. Once upon a time, if you broke your hip, you were in a wheelchair and you would just become weaker and weaker until you eventually died. They've been doing hip replacements for decades now, but the processes have changed over the years. The techniques have gotten better, the products have gotten better, and so as a result, people are able to continue to do a lot more. So the differentiation that I wanted to make today is senior versus elderly. Because again, once upon a time, anybody who was a senior was seen as essentially a couch potato, not all that active, not involved, not contributing any longer in the workforce. Play with your grandchildren a little bit while you can, and typically die when you're in your 70s. Well, people are living longer, as I pointed out. Once upon a time, 100 years, it was very rare for people to live to be 100 years old. Now, barely a week goes by that I don't hear of somebody somewhere celebrating somebody's 100th birthday or 103rd birthday or what have you. Now, we have a senior population and we have an elderly population. I'm going to classify the seniors in our day and age as primarily the boomers. I'm a boomer and I am in my 60s now, so anybody from about 60 until about 75, maybe even 80, depending on health and mobility, I would classify as a senior. Nowadays, people in that age bracket are often continuing to contribute in the workplace. A lot of people aren't retiring any longer, or if they are retiring from their quote-unquote formal jobs, they're finding second careers or working part-time, doing something just to stay active and engaged, continue to stimulate their mind. Seniors are hiking in the mountains, they're traveling around the world, doing all kinds of activities that before were thought to be the purview of the people in their 20s to 40s. So, as we say, 60 is the new 40. So we can't discount a whole swath of our society as being decrepit and waiting to die. Now, the distinction I wanted to make is the elderly. Elderly would be, in my classification, anybody from 80 and upwards. More often than not, once you hit 80, things are starting to wear down quicker than that they can be fixed or repaired or replaced. So we have an age group that is becoming more mobility compromised, more susceptible to illnesses, takes longer to recover after an illness. So the elderly are the people who are what a generation or two ago would have been the 60 to 80-year-olds. They're the people who are not as active. Now, granted, I don't want to discount anybody out there who is 80 plus, who is still out there. There are people who are skydiving. There are still a lot of people in those years who are still very, very active and very, very engaged. But there is no denying that regardless of how great our medical and pharmacological interventions have become, our bodies still deteriorate, our bodies still break down, and they don't recover as quickly. What I've found since I started NEXsteps is none of us like to be thought of as old or elderly. None of us do. We still feel as young in our minds as when we were 20, 25 years old. Our bodies might complain a little bit more, but for the most part, in our 60s and 70s, we're still quite vibrant, quite active. The point that I'm trying to make is senior is not a four-letter word. We can embrace being seniors because we are still being active, we are still being engaged. And we shouldn't discount the elderly because those people have become our elders in our culture. They have a lifetime of experience that they can share. We're fortunate enough to still be able to interact with people in their 90s who can tell us firsthand what it was like to be in a concentration camp or a prisoner of war camp, some of the horrors of things that they've had to live through, so that we as a society can learn and grow and try to avoid making those same kinds of mistakes in the future. These are the people who have seen, even in my lifetime, I did not grow up with the internet. People of my generation did not grow up with the internet. On the other hand, my nieces and nephews, who are millennials, grew up with the internet and computers. We've seen space exploration change dramatically. We have seen so many changes, and the technological changes are happening so rapidly. It used to seem that it would take a few years for some advances to come in and be adopted, and then it became a few months, and now it seems almost sometimes to be weekly that there's new applications. Artificial intelligence, for instance. When I take these videos and I create shorts out of them, I actually use a platform that uses artificial intelligence to break this video into separate parts, each with a specific topic to engage the audience. So at the end of the day, my point here is that we need to take a new look at what it means to age, what it means to become a senior, what it means to transfer from senior into the elderly category, and how we can still embrace and engage people across all generations to contribute and be part of a whole society. I'd like to leave you with that thought. Please add your comments if you have any, and I look forward to sharing more with you in the future. Bye for now.